in order to feel truly empowered in choices, and if people really are practicing what they preach in choices and accepting women for the choices that they make, that's on them for looking at you negatively by the choice that you chose to make. Hello lovely feminine women, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I am excited to dive into today's topic, where we will be talking about 5 things that I wish someone had told me when I was a beginner homemaker, when I was at the beginning of being a new wife as well as a housewife. However, it's important to note that this video can be applied to anybody who's interested in homemaking. I always specify on this channel that there's a big difference between being a housewife, which deals more with your occupation, as well as being a homemaker, because everybody who is interested in beautifying and tending to their home can be a homemaker. If you are new to our femininity revolution, I would love it if you would hit the red subscribe button down below, like any video that you like, and leave me a comment to let me know that you are here. It means so much to me when you do that, and also when you follow me on my other social media handles. I am a big proponent about moving forward the cultural conversation to include homemakers, people with more traditional values, as well as those who embrace femininity. There is actually a big void in today's modern society concerning the homemaker, as well as those who like femininity, and that is why I am a big advocate in bringing everybody together, not solely my channel as well as you, but all of the channels here on YouTube, as well as the pages and the platforms where we are all talking about these issues that many women are still interested in. The woman who's interested in homemaking as well as femininity has been pushed to the side, and it is really my goal to bring honor to this role, to bring purpose to this role, to have people kind of take us seriously, and to understand that the stereotype that people see concerning the housewife, or just the more girly woman in general, is a fallacy. I would love it if you would leave me a comment letting me know about a truth perhaps that you learned along the way concerning homemaking. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, whether or not you are a full-time housewife or you're just a part-time homemaker, you have something to add to the conversation, and it truly blesses other women when they hear from you in the comment section. Now, when I began my homemaking journey, I got married young, so there aren't home ec classes anymore, and there wasn't that big of a community online talking about homemaking, and I hadn't known anybody apart from perhaps one friend who was engaging in this lifestyle in real life. We are truly building something special here, and I think it is so important for us to band together. Also, a lot of the things that I'm going to mention to you could perhaps seem like common sense if you are an experienced homemaker, but we have to understand that many women do not get exposed to these truths anymore, and they don't really know where to start. So, without rambling on, let me get into my first truth that I wish somebody had told me as a beginner homemaker, and that is to avoid comparison. Now, we hear a lot about this on social media, advocating to young women to avoid comparison, of course, because it's going to be detrimental to self-esteem, and what we are seeing of other people's lives is the highlight reel. But there is a particular aspect that is unique when we are talking about homemakers and the art of living a more traditional lifestyle. Even if you work outside the home, if you are trying to embrace more traditional life paths, or you have a traditional marriage, you are probably going to get a lot of pushback from other people. And you also aren't going to have many people to relate to when it comes to living this lifestyle. I remember when I was working, there was a lunchtime conversation where an older woman was talking about how she splits the household task in her house. She takes care of the inside, and her husband takes care of the outside. So like landscaping, you know, like cleaning the house, you understand that division of labor. And this is an example of something that is reoccurring, especially in workplaces as well as just mainstream society. When you talk about a more traditional lifestyle, you do get some hesitation where people might say that they don't understand why you are doing that anymore, that your husband can take care of himself, that the house doesn't need you to tend to it like it's 1950s. And this woman was being told these things when she was talking about it, but she wasn't asking for feedback. She was just saying what works for her lifestyle. lifestyle. So there are many instances where people might be judging or doubting your choices because you have chosen something that is a little bit shocking, and most people don't have the positive example of healthy homemakers and households that run more traditionally. There's also another point that I want to bring up in terms of comparison. You have to understand that if you have chosen to live this life path, you cannot set your lifestyle on the same level as your peers, especially if you choose to work less or become a housewife. You cannot compare like the materialistic things that you buy or like going out to eat lunch. Those are kind of common things that people do who have two full-time incomes, but as a homemaker or a full-time housewife, this would be something that you would reserve more for a special occasion. You're not going to progress necessarily. You might at the same financial pace as somebody else, so you have to actually look for people who do live a similar lifestyle to give you that information. That's kind of what I'm trying to do on this channel a little bit. I'm trying to impart to you my knowledge that I have learned over the past few years of being a full-time homemaker. Likewise, I want to encourage you by telling you that once I stopped focusing on materialistic things and I stopped fixating on every single penny, that is when my life really blossomed. And I think this does have a lot to do with what we are called to live, how we are called to live as Christians, when we aren't necessarily supposed to be placing our values on those materialistic things. It sounds like a very straightforward concept, but it is so hard to practice on the regular, especially in the age of social media when we are constantly bombarded with the new flashy thing. If you want to embrace a homemaker's lifestyle, you have to learn to find value in the simple things. You also want to reframe your thinking in interactions with other people, as well as the content that you consume on a regular basis. As a young woman, my goals used to be more so surrounded with like hitting the milestone of buying something. I used to be very into like saving up for bags and purses, and if that is your hobby, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it got to a point where it was very unhealthy because I was literally counting every single dollar, because I thought that once I would reach that milestone where I could buy that particular luxury good, I would feel a sense of fulfillment. But when that happened, it didn't necessarily change my life at all, and it was a big important life lesson that I was wasting a lot of my money on this stuff that didn't necessarily bring me joy, and I was working myself to a point to get those things so that I could justify myself to the world. Now, if it's a harmless hobby, I don't see where there is negativity in that, but if it is a way that you are living your life, if it is ruling your life like it is for so many people in mainstream society today, that is where it is detrimental. And that's kind of like the unexplained joy that many full-time housewives learn to feel, and it really perplexes the world because you see these women, if you're looking at it from a modern standpoint, that you can't exactly understand why they are so content living frugally and on a budget. But when you actually step into that role and you fully embrace it and you learn to tune out society's narratives, you can understand how it is very, very fulfilling. And this will help you simultaneously, even if you decide to continue to be a career woman, but you want to infuse more traditionalism in your life. You're probably going to be better at your career because you're going to view value in what you are doing rather than superficial goals. Now, the second thing that I wish somebody would have told me as a beginner homemaker was that you have to apply a type of entrepreneurial spirit to your homemaking. This is different than the mainstream way of being an entrepreneur, but this basically means having a balanced business model. You have to have a balanced home. You have to implement systems that work for you. I have so many homemaking videos where I touch on this topic, probably in every single one, where I talk about systems that have worked for me, cleaning routines, like budgeting hacks, all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage you to go through my homemaking playlist. But you also have to have like quarterly check-ins with yourself. What's working for you? What can you change? Don't be afraid of changing. And another big point that I always address is focus. When I was a student in sciences and I studied my tail off, I found that it was so difficult to go through like 6 hours of studying every single day. Yes, that is how many hours of studying I studied every single day in school. But it was so much easier to do that if I applied the proven method where you do 20 to 30 minutes on and 5 minutes off. So give yourself those pockets of breaks, because when you take homemaking seriously, people don't often think that you're going to get easily drained, but it is like a non-stop job because you are always in your home and that is your workplace. So you have to implement breaks. That's another reason why I have this hobby of YouTube. It doesn't take me that much time to put on some makeup, get a little bit dolled up, and film this like 20-minute video for you, but it is one of the breaks that I implement in my homemaking routine. I know a lot of you lovely women have channels and blogs, and I look forward to featuring them. I'm thinking of doing something, I'm still brainstorming it, but I'm thinking of doing something where I feature a femininity channel or a homemaking channel or something in my vlogs for like 5 minutes. We will see. Stay tuned, hit the bell notification, the subscribe button, and you will see that stuff. Anyway, back to the point. You also have to understand where you want to invest your most homemaking energy. What are your homemaking things? I've said that before in the past. What kind of activities really spark joy in your homemaking? Some people are very into sewing, baking. I like cleaning and organizing. Find your homemaking thing and invest more time into that. It's really going to help you go forward. The third thing I have to talk to you about, a truth that I wish I had known as a beginner homemaker, and that is responsibility. If you choose to walk into confidence in your homemaking, it is your responsibility to cultivate the family culture of your home. That is a big burden on your shoulders, and of course it doesn't mean that you can control everything that your family does. You can raise your children to the best of your abilities, and a lot of it isn't in your own hands, it's in God's hands. There's a lot of societal influences. We're not going to go down that road right now, but there's such a big difference in the vibe that a homemaker puts off when she takes things seriously and understands the gift that she has been given in this responsibility, this honorable role. Families really are the future of our society, of our world. Strong families build healthy individuals. Healthy individuals go on to live passionate lives and productive lives, and they are good citizens. So truly, the family is the backbone. Like another content creator on YouTube has said before, women are the gatekeepers of civilization, and that really does ring true in a lot of aspects. You can also add whimsy and joy to your homemaking by implementing activities that can be passed down through generations. There's a book that one of you recommended to me. I believe your name is Sarah. It's called The Life-Giving Home. I will link it down below. I have been listening to it on Audible as I've been doing my homemaking task, and it does go into a lot of details on the types of traditions that you can implement in your home to bring glory to God. But even if that isn't a perspective that you subscribe to, it is going to help you live a more fulfilling and just fun life in general. The fourth thing that I wish somebody would have told me as a beginner homemaker concerns the concept of perfection. There is a big misunderstanding about homemaking and becoming a full-time housewife. Many people believe that if you have chosen to put more effort into this and less effort into a job or like something on the outside of the home, that you are expected to set the bar very, very high and be a Martha Stewart, so to speak. I have even heard many people who insult housewives, myself included, that they would expect we would have nicer meals or we would have a cleaner home, for example. But there is a big element of homemaking that some people are forgetting, and that is embracing a slower, more traditional lifestyle. And embracing a slower, traditional lifestyle doesn't mean just taking hustle culture mentality from the outside world and applying it into your home. Embracing a slower mentality kind of has an element of rejecting perfectionism and instead walking in purpose and seeking meaning. You're still going to get burned out if you put way too much emphasis on the superficial aspects of homemaking, similar to how you will be way burned out if you are overexerting yourself at your job. It truly is about finding fulfillment and balance. And the last point I want to talk to you about is understanding your value as a homemaker. Like I talked about, you are the backbone of society in many respects, but I also want you to understand that you are a capable woman. It doesn't make you less competent if you choose to focus more on homemaking aspects. Society is not going to give you a pat on the back, although I am giving you a pat on the back right now. And you have to just rest in that. You have to understand that. But when you leave this world, you still have to look at your life through the lens of, does it really matter if I am just going along my days, living a certain way, just so that somebody can tell me that I am doing a good job, or just so that I cannot be questioned, or I just don't stand out awkwardly? There are so many ways to be valuable, and value really is subjective, especially depending on the type of society that we live in. Your value in non-monetary things that you bring in your home is going to have to fulfill you in ways that aren't like gratification from the outside world, is essentially what I'm trying to tell you. I also want you to rest in the notion that in order to feel truly empowered in choices, and if people really are practicing what they preach in choices and accepting women for the choices that they make, that's on them for looking at you negatively by the choice that you chose to make. What I have come to understand is that people are going to judge no matter what. So you can't live your life for other people. That's everything I wanted to cover in today's video. Leave me a comment down below. What are some truths that you learned about being a homemaker, or what did you learn at the beginning of your homemaking journey, whether you are an experienced homemaker or you are just beginning, or maybe what did you learn from this video? Anything that comes to your mind, as long as it is positive and respectful, it is always welcome on this channel. I love you all, lovely feminine women. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.